welcome back to the Ales and Fails Twist stream. I'm your host, Ale Wolf. Today with a few new tools under my belt, we've actually got a background theme, and now playing for your listening pleasure in the background is Caramel, by an artist I should be able to reference, but if you really need that reference, it's on my About page. So, happy Thursday, everyone. We are back today with another serving of a Hades on our ongoing quest to escape Hades. But before we do that, of course, let's go ahead and check out what's on tap. And so this might be something that I've had on stream, but I've had it so many times, the memory seems to fail me. This is a Victory Golden Monkey. A very frenetic can design. Victory does actually a lot of monkey-themed beers, but this one was the first one that I encountered. And this is a Belgian-style triple ale. And so let's see what Untapped has to say on this matter. I certainly love that Untapped frequently logs me out. But Victory Golden Monkey. So nose is loaded with Belgian yeast character of banana and clove with an equally fruity body balanced with a light, earthy hop character. Savored notes of orange and spice followed by a dry finish. So Golden Monkey is a Belgian-style triple ale. I'm sure you've heard me say this a million times, but in Belgium they don't only have singles, they have doubles, triples, and even quads. And what differentiates them is the color, the level of malt, the hardiness of their alcohol content, and the level of spice that they have. Triples tend to be golden in color, a little lighter, very effervescent, have a lot of spices in them. Included here are, of course, cloves and some citrus notes there as well. Of note, where was the first time I encountered this particular beer? Well, it was back in the East Coast, of all places, back in North Carolina. And I just spilled everywhere, but let's try this again. So as you can see, it's a golden drink, and hopefully it shan't pour too much on my keyboard setup. I first encountered Victory Golden Monkey at a pub in Chapel Hill. I was on a date with my significant other at the time. It was Chapel Hill happens to be a college town, very close to Chapel Hill University and adjacent educational facilities. I think we were late to our particular reservation because back in the day I thought that making reservations was the fanciest things I could do as a prominent suitor. This was actually one of the best things on tap that they had, and every single time we went there afterwards, because we did continue dating, we always helped ourselves to some Golden Monkey. So then, fang and ale, dear friends. Very few American breweries do their triples as well as the Victory, so it's definitely a recommend from me. But let's move on to the main event. Put this aside, try and get some proper space here. Let's go back to the world of Hades. And of course our game capture is not set up. Try that. Try that again. And there we go. Perfect. And our audio seems to be running fine, so let's go ahead and mosey on along. So we have attempted to escape 49, just like that sports team. And I believe last time we played together, we had made it as far as the third world, and we were crushed. Just totally crushed.
All right.
Or was it that we were crushed to the third world, then we tried again, and we failed at the second world? Whatever the case, we failed.
What? If you got killed by Tisiphone the Fury, why then it must mean you've been accused of murder. A most heinous crime as I'm to understand. Well, I hope you clear your name. Or whatever those mortals do about that stuff.
Tisiphone was her name. Here I've been calling her Tizzyphone this entire time.
Cheers.
But the correct pronunciation does have a certain charm to it. She stands as my favorite Fury sister.
How possibly could I have given the impression that I wished to talk?
Okay.
The hellish watchdog snarls at the listless shades crowding about the court.
Who's a good boy?
Yes, you are.
Beautiful. Ah, a conversation of friends.
You're much too modest, Lord Achilles, for someone with such a number of heroic deeds and glorious decapitations to his name. You ought to be more like ever boastful Zagreus and talk it up some more.
Oh, fear not, Orpheus. I was quite boastful in my day. And would you look at where it got me? Besides, I've not the imagination to come up with tales as tall as those of our Prince Zagreus.
What can I say? I try.
Well, Zagreus is ever the boastful one. And the house contractor, what's new? So, more coinage. Anything of interest. Embellishes the east wing flooring in gray. Again, I'm not very interested in the house decor aspect of the contractor here. Really, it's more for functionality that I ever visit. I suppose that includes anything in the house repair category, but I guess I won't know until I purchase most of these. And of course there's things such as bedroom decor. But work orders really is the main thing here. Each infernal trove contains more. Huh.
Let's make it happen. I'll have to keep an eye out for this next time out there.
What are you prattling about now?
What's it to you, old man?
I sense the growing darkness in you, child. I am so very proud of you. You always have been capable, yet now you seem to radiate with newfound power.
Well, thank you for noticing.
I'm getting somewhere, I guess.
Ever the supportive Nyx.
Hi.
Have to tell you, Dusa, your job seems really stressful here. It's a big house. You have to tend to the entire thing.
Oh, well, most of it isn't so bad at all. But ever since Cerberus tore up the lounge, I guess it's been a little hectic getting everything back to normal like before.
I'm not sure it was ever normal around here, but I'm sorry I created work for you. Cerberus tore the place apart because of me. Though maybe I can help you patch things up.
Don't say that, Prince. Cerberus knows better, and besides, you have your job to do, don't you? And I have mine. And I will do my very best at it. Just wait and see.
And she's off.
I don't believe she ever stays after a conversation. And this looks like Cerberus was here. Cerberus. Now let's see if there's anything else to be revealed in the Mirror of Darkness. Excusez-moi.
The Mirror of Night.
Ah, so close. Start each escape attempt with some wealth. That doesn't seem like a bad idea. And how much are we starting with? Oh, I thought this was a one-time purchase.
All set.
No need to waste more money on that. I think we can be fairly generous with how we spend our coins moving forward. Just a bit less stingy. What'll it be this time? Ah, the Fist of,
Let's punch things up a bit.
Yeah, give me your best shot.
What is there to reveal? The
Malphon,
Twin
I
Fist
see
of
everything
Malphon.
you are.
So, that's the standard. The aspect of Zagreus. Your special becomes a magnetic cutter. Can it be... its pull deals 20 damage. Huh. I would be remiss if I didn't say that I was tempted to try it out, but there might be different options here. And I've yet to master the use of this weapon. I think I've used it less than a handful of times in my 49 attempts. And... so very simple combinations here, but the one thing that this thing lacks is simply the range. I'm so willing to give it a go, of course. Chaos Gates. Dionysus's Cup. Someone. I wonder if I've yet to give Artemis a gift. It's strange, considering she's one of my favorites. Well, let's hope we meet her in this exit. Zeus.
It is my solemn wish, dear Zagreus, that eventually we settle up our differences with your Lord Father. But for now, we fight.
Your attack emits chain lightning when you damage a foe. So extra damage. Your special causes lightning bolt dash. And then your dash causes lightning bolt to strike. That's a difficult one. Let's go with basics here. I do find myself using the fists, the standard jabs more than the uppers when I use this weapon. Lord Hades bears no love for him, for reasons I can scarce begin to contemplate. It is as though Lord Hades chooses willingly not to consort with the Olympians. Well, they are a fickle lot. Get over here.
authority.
Darkness becomes me. Ah, the Hammer of Daedalus. Either that or a chance to visit with Zeus again. Let's see how we alter our gameplay.
More wretches. Easy. Come face me off on me.
Let's see. So you restore every time you perform an uppercut. Deals 5%, 5 plus base damage for each consecutive hit to a foe. Ooh. Where your special becomes a charge shot. That sounds like fun.
Need all the firepower I can get.
Wow. So there I've gained some distance. Now that's what you call a change of modality. Before we proceed, some quality H2O. Stay hydrated, Wolfkin. We're here for the long haul. Seems to me that I'm hitting fast enough that I don't actually have to move from my location, which is interesting. I almost feel that something else has changed. It's impressive how many sandwiches I find these days with Deuce's charm. Like a rocket. Here's looking to power up this particular aspect. I guess you could have charged this all along.
The power of the gods.
But I guess I can't change the strength of the upper.
Palmed up.
See if there's anything left in this room. Can't afford not to scrounge for coin and similar rewards. Beautiful. This combination is actually proving far more useful than I expected. But I guess the true test will be in the boss room. Don't destroy my darkness. And we might see the Bomber Brothers or the Crystal.
Ready, lads?
Bomber Brothers it is. I don't believe you can even touch me these days. Except you just did. can't even move, buddy. And the gift of Ares.
Well, if it isn't Malphon, the twin fists, bound to your very capable hands. So many weapons are so indirect, I think. With Malphon, you are about as close to the destruction as can be.
So close, you can almost taste it. Ah, this might be good for my flying upper. Blade Rift. But this might be even better. They're slaying a foe. These are all good. But this might be our best choice for now. Just a small adjustment here. I'll be right back, folks. Okay, sorry about that. Just had to make a small adjustment to our room. It just so happens that you have to be ever so conscious of the temperature whenever you sport a leather jacket indoors. And this is my only way out. Looks like it. Ah,
Here we go again.
a challenge.
Get this part.
Let's do this.
Okay.
I confuse my own blade rifts with enemies, which is not good. Better attack from the periphery. Ah, and I just ate that for no reason.
Nearly made it.
Better stay away from the casters. There's far too many of them to dodge them or deflect them appropriately.
That's all the time we have.
That was not a good match for me. Fortunately, there's a Centaur's Heart there.
What's for sale?
Actually, might be even better. 50% damage striking undamaged foes for 6 encounters. Honestly, all of these are good.
Should be handy. Much better.
Destroy these bomber creatures before they get the best of me. What else? Excellent, and max life is higher than it used to be. Either darkness or a chthonic key. Chthonic. Difficult choices. I'm going to engage another boss, I suppose. Maybe.
Yes.
Or at least strong enemies. Range is still something to be desired. Ooh. Who's next?
More coming.
What are you gonna do? We're still throwing these things.
Right there.
Okay, and now I've got 23 keys on me. 23 and me. Ah, and a chance to power up one of our specials. Better to destroy these before there's too many crystals. Otherwise they just start bouncing off each other. It's maddening. See what I mean? Why do they have... I'm assuming that's just the boosted defense. Ah, nice. The feather duster is all the way where it needs to be. A diamond. A diamond.
Delicious.
Well,
Juicy.
there's some elegance to balance. Your cast? No.
I can use this.
I think that is all I'll need from this particular shop. So it's a Sothonic key that's before us. Spicy. And ideally, if I just keep running around, I won't actually have to hit any of these things individually. Get over here, you blasted weasel. It's just multiplying or something. Beautiful. Can't leave an urn untouched. So, a centaur heart. Ah, for some reason I thought there was a door there as well. Or some form of loot. The calm before the storm. No Charon today, I see. Okay, then I guess we are ready. As ready as we will be. Fang and ale.
Please be Meg.
Megara.
No.
I have to level with you, Zagreus. For all we've been through, never once have I wanted you to meet my sisters.
Keep them
Can't imagine why
from me.
not. We had a lovely time getting to know each other. We laughed, we cried. My only regret was that you couldn't be there yourself.
I
Charming.
know what you're saying. There's a reason that they're not permitted in the house. Though, come on. One of us is going back there now.
Sounds like a fight. just ran circles around you. Oof. Caught off guard on that. And hopefully the difference maker here will be my blade rifts. Ah, that was foolish. I don't know that I can deflect these as properly with this particular build. Ah, that was foolish. Impervious. Ha. Oof. Ta. And there we go. Sadness. Being reckless here. Wow, well, that's it for this run. Either Meg got better, or I became far too confident. Well,
Yes.
that is the end of this particular run, so to say. Battled out of Tartarus with the Twin Fists. I guess that's an achievement. Very sad. Unless in this room of respite that I find a way to recover one of my continues. I don't know that this trip has got much more mileage. Wonderful. And of course, not the case. That might be fun. Should I start training a different artifact now that there's no point here? I haven't seen Master Chaos in this run. Maybe that was a true omen to my defeat. Not needed. Poseidon. What about these? That might not be bad, but maybe I need to focus on coin more before I do that. And then this, I don't think I'll ever wear that. At least not unless I'm trying to challenge myself for no reason. Where's the Zeus one? I guess I haven't presented him with a gift. Let's go with Ares.
Should help.
For the rest of this run.
See you, Tartarus. Yes.
Okay. I have half a mind to commit suicide and start over. Ah, such a dreadful first boss encounter. It really is the weapon that makes that particular challenge. And Hermes. Who's next? Nothing seems to be faster than my fists. What is thine gift?
Only the one time, cuz, despite rendering services to him for quite a while, memorable experience, I'll give it that. Seems like he's not done anything for all the messages my side keeps sending him.
Whenever you are hit, you have a chance to dodge automatically. That could be useful, but it's only a 15%. Hyper sprint. And this, you just move faster. I don't think I've ever tried this.
Stuff.
So, coin and centaur heart.
Moving on.
Ah. Did I not pick that up? Mad bomber. Didn't move out of the flame fast enough.
Almost finished with these.
Wow. You guys are freaks. Who's there? And there it is.
Much better.
And yet still not as good as recovering one of our extra lives. We might as well activate gems though. Not very interested in gems. Gem is my name. Are you running? Swim into my rift. These guys are a bit sturdier than your average enemy. Bombs.
In the name
Lord Ares. After using Death Defiance, deal more damage than you encounter. Restore 50% heart instead of dying when your life total is depleted. This is after using Death Defiance though, so I don't even know if it'll proc. After you take damage. to go against the fates. What are my options here? Either more Lord Ares. Sure, let's double down. Whoa. You're trying to be funny here, aren't you? These guys just don't let up. Amazing. At last.
What can you do?
Your cast? No. Does this replace anything? That would certainly not be useful during a boss room. Curse of Pain, though.
The war is on.
Anything else I can... Ooh, nice. Here's hoping we land on a shop soon. And the nectar. The nectar of the gods.
Inferno bombers.
Is that what they were called? I see someone up there. Just how much time is there between the droppage of a bomb and its actual explosion? Doesn't take a wizard.
What do we have here?
Ah, the drink of the gods.
Nice.
So, either a Sothonic key, or what else is there? Darkness, gems. I'm going to say go for the price. And let's see it. Not until the end, I suppose. Who am I fighting here? This was a pretty big map. Surprising I had not encountered them until just now. That one should have been easier to avoid, but my reaction time is... And I hear respawns. Four at a time. Ran straight into that one. One more key, and we are at 25. Pizza or Ares? Preferences? I always go for the pizza. What am I selling here? Your special inflicts doom. That was probably not as smart of a sell. Sorry, not as smart of a purchase. I will let it be. But thus far it is the second thing I regret the most. Pizza it is. And I believe this must be the room before the room. And it is.
Power of Olympus.
No. Inflict dooms on a foe. Let's continue destroying things with our blades. Maybe if I can twirl around those snakes, maybe I can make quick work of them. But what are the chances to our health?
Big one, huh?
What are you doing? Okay, here we go. Overgrowth. Stay in your corner. Ah, hot foot. Still I stand without a proper way to deflect. Are you back? And it's impervious one more time, which means, of course, more of its friends. And this is with when it becomes far more unmanageable. And thus I am gone. I gotta say though, that was probably a slightly better run through that boss than I've had in recent times. Generally, that would be the boss where I waste most of my continues, so... Time to crack the old digits. And if you're just tuning in, this is our second go, probably escaped attempt number 50, enjoying a victory golden monkey.
Why, you look like someone who just got beaten silly by a dirty skeleton.
What gave it
On
away?
the brink of death, I ought to say. And sure enough, according to my list, you did. Those bloodless sure are tough.
You don't say.
Right.
No gift for you today, Hypnos.
You have been keeping our contractor rather busy, I must say. Commissioning these frivolous projects around the house with the wealth you wrest from my domain. What are you hoping to achieve?
What am I hoping to achieve?
Oh, you know, just giving back to the community. Figure if I'm to keep getting dragged back here, it might as well be somewhat livable.
Good answer.
When last I checked, making the underworld livable was not among our top priorities. Just remember, in your brazenness, whose house this is.
Well aware, thanks.
Such tones we adopt. Ah, but our friend Achilles.
Achilles, I ran into Meg's sisters out there. We didn't really hit it off. Meg said they're not permitted in the house. Not that I'm complaining, but what's that about?
Well, I am complaining.
They have not earned the right, lad, nor expressed any desire to exist here with the rest of us. Your father has assigned them to specific roles that suit their dispositions. They're not as sensible as Megara, in my experience.
That's what I was afraid of. Although fear is for the weak.
All my love to the wild ones.
Where'd Orpheus go?
Huh. Meg.
And then all 7 of those wretches tried cutting to the front of the procession line. Can you believe the nerve? As though they'd get an audience that way.
What a bunch of dummies! What were they even thinking, cutting the line? I mean, in front of you?
Let's just say if they still have any complaints for our Lord Hades, they'll be waiting for a long, long time before they get the chance to bring them up.
Seems like I just walked into a conversation.
I don't know.
Anything else I can do here? No, I guess the remainder... Oh, wait.
Oh, that's too bad.
There's more.
But it might be the case that that's it for me.
Right?
Just when I think that there's nothing more to follow.
No. What I heard is...
Okay. Let them be. Stretch a bit. Alright, much better. And so, the Mirror of Night. Let's uncover your truths.
What more potential do I have?
Privileged status. Deal bonus damage versus foes afflicted by at least 2 status curse effects. That's a difficult one. I rarely get one on my builds. Raise your chance for a boon to be rare. That seems like a worthwhile investment. Plus 1% though. Let's get it to at least 5, shall we? 5%. And then maybe this time we can finally work our way to the next Death Defiance.
Feeling good.
And just a bit of housekeeping here. Okay. Well, what weapon shall I go with today? Darkness suggests the lance. But what does chat suggest? That shield is ever so tempting. Well, I suppose lance it is. But before I make that final choice...
Which one?
Ares. Let's go with this hourglass. see how much we can actually push Charon's gifts. And yes, let's do this.
Should take my spear.
No, not doing that today. So,
Yeah, that's it.
unlike the Twin Fist, the lance actually has fairly ample range, so that one is not one of its weak points. And this retractability is actually quite nice whenever you're focusing on backstabbing. But what is there to reveal here?
Barotha, you were once father's spear.
The aspect of Achilles. What is the raging rush?
Grant me the aspect of Achilles himself.
Okay. So that's an AoE for us.
Never been stabbed quite like that.
So not only does the spear come to me, but I come to the spear. Which is, I guess, fairly good for repositioning. Why would I want to recall it if I can just dash through my enemy? And of course the standard dash attack. Let's see how much damage we can do. And every time Dionysus shows up, it must mean it's my lucky day.
Now you keep at it like you have been, and I bet we'll all be hanging out up here in no time flat. I'm with you all the way.
Now Dionysus, all I want to do is hang out. A festive fog. What is a hangover? Okay. Silly question. What is a hangover? Let's do it with a special though.
Let's lighten things up.
Our primary is still going to be our primary. And I want it to be with, honestly, I wish it was more of an Athena situation where I can deflect. Let's move on. On their own, these wizards are actually quite simple to defeat, but once you've got several of them at a distance, they become truly unmanageable. And I hear Master Chaos beckons. Ah, and Artemis follows.
Hit me.
Do remind me to present her with a gift. Pay my respects to her.
Prior to the fact, I'm experiencing residual surprise. Your movements through the underworld, as the veil of darkness enshrouds you. The goddess mixes influence, perhaps. Respond.
I do not know how to respond to that exactly, Master Chaos.
That was a lot of things said.
Yes, she has been aiding me in my attempts to flee my father's realm.
You move in darkness, not as infinitely black as hers, but reminiscent to me nonetheless. I would invite her to try to elude me, and then attempt to locate her. A minor amusement for the both of us. Now I have you for this, I see.
Interesting side thought, Master Chaos. Wow, that one is significant. Can I afford it? this might be the only time when I can actually afford this, so either I do it well or I don't do it. Play defensively, I suppose. I could find something to recoup. One encounter down. I'm sure that this spell will include the next mini-boss at least. Coins galore. Oof. Walked right into that one. Every hit, a step closer to death. Did I make the right decision? Should I have told her?
Coming through.
And very nice on the attack against these crystals. Step lively.
My boon from chaos has transformed.
Excellent.
Right.
Time to backstab. And let's see if there's anything left in this room. We are visiting with Artemis. What do you present? Almost if I don't have to move. But do you have a front or not?
Smashing.
Please.
Lady Artemis, I hope that you'll accept this offering for all your kindness and support.
One of my favorite patrons.
Hey, thank you for this, really. And I've just the thing to offer in return. It's just a gift, okay?
Nothing more, nothing less.
Lady Artemis, you honor me.
Lord Hades and the Lady Artemis have certain traits in common, I suppose. Each solitary and committed to their work. If only my Lord Hades understood that someone such as Artemis could be someone to confide in, rather than resent along with all the other on Olympus.
Something's troubled me a little about you. You fight so desperately. At first I thought you simply lacked in patience, but now I see it's urgency that drives you. What is it that you're after, really?
It's complicated. The Aid of Artemis. Now I don't believe I've ever selected this, and I believe now is the time.
The might of the Huntress.
Excellent. One more prophecy fulfilled. And let's go ahead and finish this up. It'll soon be time for a refill.
What do we have here?
Darkness for our troubles. The heart of a centaur. And it seems like the spear itself actually has a combo when you connect. At least this aspect. That of our esteemed Achilles. Now. And it's but a single arrow. Maybe save that for the boss room then. What's in here? I really am not interested in your gems. But I am interested in a fight. Rookie mistake. Using this power as it shows is actually like another dash. And we fly. 7 keys already. And we are electric. Let's boost one of our abilities.
You're out well past your curfew, boy.
That brings back memories.
Their attention.
Have to stop their gathering. Not good. Survive.
No more of this buffoonery.
Wow. That was a close one. I overestimated my abilities.
Oh, gods. Got some zest.
Let's see what you can do, Artemis. But I could indeed use some subway.
Pests.
Be smart about this one. It's already too late. made it without a scratch.
Gods grant me strength.
I should use my special more. Excellent. One way out. What time have we got here? 3:10. Let's pause right before the next boss. Speak of the devil.
Charon's shop.
Charon.
I'll just have a look around.
At 394. I've got the power to get both. Let's see what Dionysus has to offer.
Just what I need.
Hey, cheers for picking up the tab there, Zag. Now, I cannot exactly pay you back, though I could give you this.
Go on. So it's almost like a disease. Might as well go. Daedalus.
In business.
I rarely use the spin attack, unfortunately. Really? Wow. It is like scratching time itself. Okay, but with that, we're going to take a much needed break. I will be back in about 5 minutes or so. Don't leave. Okay, and we are back with another round of What's on Tap. Let me go ahead and pause this desktop audio so you can actually hear me. But what we have here is Or Xata. There we go. Or Xata by the Bruery. A blonde ale brewed with rice and lactose with natural cinnamon and vanilla flavors added. Avid viewers of the stream will remember that I've had this a number of times, but it's been a while since I last had it. And here we go. Hopefully this time without any accidents. It's a beautiful golden color. Or Xata itself, with a CH as opposed to an X, is actually a drink made from rice that is popular in Hispanic countries and Spain as well. I believe the first time I had actual Or Xata was in a Mexican restaurant. And so I think it's probably one of my favorite grains to make into a non-alcoholic juice. But what does Untapped have to say about this particular brewer? So, Or Xata is a traditional sweet, milky drink originating in Spain and Latin America that has become quite popular in Southern California, particularly with Mexican cuisine. All that is true. Our homage to the traditionally non-alcoholic drink is a blonde ale brewed with a heavy dosing of rice, cinnamon, and vanilla along with lactose for a little extra creamy character. These ingredients melt together to create a taste and experience that hints of Or Xata, but it's much more than that. The flavor is hard to describe, but those who know it, you know you love it. Well, I've certainly had it before, and what did I give it? A 3.75. Excuse. Age. So, let's have it a go and see how accurate that description is. Fang and ale. So you can definitely sense the cinnamon flavor there. And cinnamon is my favorite tree bark to drink. It's like most Goldens, but it's also got this milky texture to it. I would say as close to Or Xata as a blonde ale is willing to get. So if you see it out in the wild, give it a go. It's not as unusual as it sounds. But with that, let's go back to our adventure. Okay, so we are about to face one of the Furies sisters. We just got our new power-up, which strikes in 3 different ways. I believe we've got more power of hangover power, and we're shocking. I think we've got the power of a call, so hopefully Artemis helps us in this fight.
Hey there, Meg.
You've really done it, Zagreus. My sisters have returned. All 3 of us now share the same assignment.
What is that supposed to mean?
Is it wrong of me that I'm somewhat honored to have garnered the attention of the Erinyes?
Oh, I would say it's very wrong of you indeed.
Interesting. If I can continue to do damage over time, then maybe I don't have to risk myself approaching so much, which would be quite useful given I've got such little health on me. I think not. Woof. If I could just keep my distance, then I might be impervious.
Hear me, you wretched
trap. No! Ah. Was that a simple trap? That's unfortunate. Slain. That would have been so much better if I hadn't been at such low health.
Mine now.
I honestly thought that all three of them were going to come to me at once. Wishful thinking. But let's see what awaits us. Oh.
You wouldn't dare.
That was ominous. No, I think we're fine with our current setup. Okay. Passive foes of your attack deals 30% more damage. That's something I can't disagree with. Anything to sell back.
I need these.
I still haven't used Artemis's aid. I just forget about it. And everything I do causes hangover. I'm not selling anything. And before I do that, just a bit of housekeeping here. Okay.
Up we go then.
Let's see if we can make a good run for the third world.
Hot up here.
Just a bit toasty. It's a tonic key for our troubles. Whew. I almost don't even think that there's a point in investing in my special anymore, given this new power.
All set.
I can't say that it would be right by Achilles though. So Centaur's Heart, or another visit with Dionysus. At this point, I'd rather play it defensively, even conservatively. Beautiful damage. Beautiful trauma. It seems like they heard me. A chaos gate. You can't even move, friend.
How many more of these are there?
Pushed by that one. Sonic boom indeed. Ah, wonderful. And the gate opens, but before I do that, something must be done.
Queen's worth giving up.
Ah, it pains me so. Nah. It might still be useful.
Might as well. I'm back here.
The point in the nexus that connects everything.
In the name of Hades.
Speed is so vital in this game. And then you get plus 33. I'm be willing to give that.
Chaos flows through me.
Let's see if we can actually manage to stay away from traps then, shall we?
The barge of death is always here for me.
Oof. That was a close one. I wonder if everything in this ship, vessel, what have you, counts as a single encounter. Can't say that that would be to my liking. Stay there. With this particular setup, these mad bombers are far more agreeable. Spoke too soon. How imperviable are you? You guys are suffering the worst hangover you can imagine. Did that count as one? One of my favorites.
You are so fortunate to have received the boon of Dionysus prior to my own. He, the most noble and important of us all, the god of wine himself.
I don't disagree with the notion. So, your special deals more damage, but it'll replace Drunken Flourish. I'm not really using my special very much. Resist some damage from nearby foes and attacks. So that's extra defense right there. When foes are slain, they are damaged. Inflict, so it's an added effect. Let's go for the defense, play it conservatively. And nectar for our troubles.
Gorgons.
Friends of Deuce, I assume. Oh, did I have line of sight there? This must be the first time I've encountered those. Now this is quite the wonderful power, but is it strong enough? Oof. I think I took a hit that I wasn't meant to. Those are quite fast and it seems like they're homing. I didn't realize that. Excellent. It's funny when those things appear and there's nothing new to be read.
The perfect gift.
I wonder why they do that. And so darkness magic, emerald. Anything else in this chamber of friends? I don't actually know. None of these seem quite interesting. Let's go for darkness.
Easy does it.
And there's a well of Charon there. Where are you? Something's there. Friends of Hydra, I assume. That doesn't bode well for us. Beautiful trauma.
It's dark, all right. Bad time to be a little short of coin.
Ah, that would have been so lovely. 200. Have to remember that one for next time. Keep 200 spare on you. Passive, you deal 50% damage striking foes from behind. Okay. Well, that might be good for the next 10 encounters, huh?
Should be useful.
So bad I can't sell one of my power-ups now. And so, Hermes. Let's lighten up the mood. This doesn't seem to be like a fight room. And I was right.
Hey, could you do me a little favor for me, cuz? My brothers, sisters, family, and whatnot, they're unaware I'm working with you here. It's no big deal, but let's keep it that way for now. Alright?
Understood. So as long as you dash, you're fine. Your attack is faster. That seems to be quite useful. You can dash more times in a row. Two more dashes. That's impressive. Sure.
Let's go.
4 dashes in a row. Well, let's see if we can actually make use of it. I don't believe it's time for the boss, but I've miscalculated before.
Bone Hydra, you look different.
I guess I did. And there we go. Friends. Should focus on backstabbing. If only I knew what their back is. you back? And one more chance. And it just went away. Artemis. So close and yet so far. There's no way to deflect those, I guess. More minions. Very sad indeed.
Oh, that stupid Hydra.
Okay, and attempt number 3. Let's give this one more shot. Or rather, maybe let's end it with Hades here. What could be something else we play at this time? What did we play last time? Let's go ahead and call Hades for now. I think we've had enough of this. Let's try to see if we can find something a little more alluring for a bit. While we wait for our Final Fantasy XIV block, we shall be right back. Okay, and we are back, and I decided that for the last round of this block we're going to continue our game of Soulcalibur VI, and I think it should be showing now. Okay, perfect. Let's get a move on. Last time we played this was actually Friday afternoon, and very much enjoyed going through the story mode with all the fun events that were happening. Let's see how much headway we can make in the next 20 minutes or so. Here with our trusty neon green yellow Xbox controller. So we were going through the Soul Chronicle section of the game. No, I don't. I often forget that the confirm is actually A here. And so I believe we left off in Songmina's story. Let's see if my levels are correct here. Okay, Mixer seems to be doing okay. What am I looking at here? Setsuka Huang. Okay, so we left off on chapter 7. This diary of my journey is coming to an end. I've discovered a lot about myself. It feels as though my life is about to turn a corner. I hope this diary someday reaches my father and Huang. That doesn't sound disturbing. Ah, if it's not Tuxedo Mask.
I shall vanquish the evils of the ages. What are you doing? The villagers told me.
Of course it was Huang. Of course.
You sure about that? Yeah, we're gonna fight too. We need to save her.
Wow, that's a lot of people. I believe that's what you call politics. Okay, heroes. I would have preferred a warm-up, but I guess we're gonna be thrown right in the middle of it. Whoa, and my controls are not responding here. That's fun. And so, always relying on our friendly vertical strike. The thing about playing with Songmina is just the fact that up close you're actually facing an uphill battle, but from far away you can do wonders. Graceless. But we're gonna go one more time. This time it's serious. Jeez. This is a trained lizard man. Now we can overwhelm him with attacks. Him or her, them. I can't actually quite tell with a lizard person. Whew. And the retaliation. Another one. And here I am with reduced health. Here's hoping that this monk is just a little more manageable than that lizard man. Here we go. Whirlwind of Death. Beautiful opening. But unfortunately, oh, okay. That was the last match. Okay, well that's a compromising position. I think we've accomplished a lot here. Why are we getting rescued? Yeah, how about that entire backstory? A low point, but still very cute. You know, one thing I failed to do was actually update the stream info. That's unfortunate. But I think that is it for us anyways. Is that actually the end of it? I suppose so. Okay, so we finished with Song Mina's campaign. And I think that is it for us. I'm actually very soon to start the Final Fantasy XIV block, so let's call it here. That was moderate progress for a Soulcalibur run, but we'll try to squeeze it in next time we play. Let's go ahead and take a break, and on the other side we'll actually start playing Final Fantasy XIV. So we will see you then. And if you've decided that you had enough mythology for one, well, join me tomorrow where we'll be working with our retro corner. I believe I'll be going back to Banjo-Kazooie. However it plays out though, I wish you well. See you soon. Fang and Ale. Okay, and welcome back to the Ales and Fails Twitch stream. Hopefully you are still joining us from our earlier Hades stream. We went ahead and switched gears and we'll be playing Final Fantasy XIV with a friend of the show, John. And give me 1 second to actually activate your sound because all we've got is background music right now. Okay, go ahead, John.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Excellent. Good to have you once again, John, joining us in our Final Fantasy XIV campaign as I try to play my way through the main storyline quest with an arcanist, which friends of the stream will remember I have not been having the greatest of times with, but so it goes. Sometimes it's not all fun and games. Sometimes you have to go and eat through the pain before you get to the good, the meat of the meat of the substance. There's no such idiom. Anyways, let's go ahead and switch up to our game. But before we do that, anybody that just recently joined our stream would like to know what's on tap. And today we've got a helping from the brewery. This one is called Or Xata. John, have you had Or Xata before?
As in the rice-based beverage?
That is accurate. Have you had it?
I've had the rice-based beverage. I may not have had the drink that you are reviewing.
Yeah, so this one is Or Xata with an X, and it's a golden ale, but it's actually brewed with rice and lactose with natural cinnamon and vanilla flavors added. It's got a healthy 7.2% alcohol. It's actually a light drink. I would say that if anybody was trying to manufacture something that was as close to an alcoholic version of Or Xata, that was excuse me, in beer form, this would be it. So cheers to your health, John.
Thank you. Cheers.
Certainly, if you find it in the wild, I'd suggest you give it a go. Alright, but that being said, let's go ahead and move on back to our game. And here we go. And of course my game capture is not set up because why would it be? Okay, and there we go. And 38 more people in the queue before me. Hopefully the world clears up relatively soon.
Yeah, here's hoping we are able to get to one of those dungeons that we left on last time.
Excuse me. Okay. I must admit I've forgotten exactly what I was doing last I was here. So I've got a job-related quest. Wow. This just doesn't let up. So I'm gonna head to the Arcanist Guild, if I remember how to get there. Really hoping that I can switch up to Scholar very soon.
What level are you?
30.
Oh, then, yeah, your next job quest might actually be your the quest that unlocks arcanist.
So obviously when you click on one of the smaller crystals in a major city, you get to teleport around the city with ease, but somehow that's not true when you meet a big crystal. Why is that?
Sorry, could you repeat that? You said that it makes it easier to teleport to throughout the city, but what about the big crystal?
The big crystal doesn't let you do that.
The crystal does let you use the Aethernet.
Okay, look, I'm gonna click on it right now.
Mm-hmm.
And there will be no such messages.
There has to be something that says Aethernet.
I guess you were right. Didn't see the first option in my menu. Hand over the leather satchel.
Is the name of that card game in Final Fantasy VIII called Triple Triad?
Yes, it's called Triple Triad. Why do you ask?
I guess they have it in this game as well.
I heard about that actually.
Yeah, they have it in a casino.
I wonder how popular it is. Have you played it much?
No, this is actually the first time I'm looking at this casino stuff.
Yeah, Triple Triad is a superior card game in Final Fantasy, the Final Fantasy franchise, I find.
Is there other card games?
I believe Final Fantasy IX had a game called Tetramaster. Which I heard was more complicated. Okay, so I've upgraded my main spell, which was Ruin. Now it's slightly stronger than before. What's happening here? Okay, I guess guess I am going back to the main storyline quest because there's no follow-up to this. I was hoping this character would say something like, and now you are ready to become a scholar, but no such luck. Quest line just ended.
Interesting.
Oh, I can't wear this yet because I'm not. Level 31. I see. Okay, so my next main storyline quest is called Blast from the Past. Use blessed water to slay a tempered sword. What are you doing on your end?
I am apparently exploring the casino because I don't know how to go back. I was just whisked away to this casino.
You mean the gold saucer, right?
Yes.
I remember during my playthrough with a paladin, I ended there. I didn't know why I was there. And I teleported out, and then I was unable to find a simple way to get back there. Not at least without having to walk all the way back.
Yeah, I think, I actually don't know where this thing is located, so... I always used to think it was just on some blimp somewhere.
So, John, what sort of media have you been consuming as of late?
As of late, I have been kind of interested in watching this Netflix limited show on, what's his name? John Wayne Gacy, the serial killer.
And who did he, what was his crime?
He killed a bunch of young men during, I want to say like the 70s, maybe the 80s as well. He was just a real SOB. But it's interesting because they kind of go over how, you know, all of the kind of things that he used to do, how he was kind of antisocial from the beginning, but he was still very active in like politics. He was very active in the community. He was very manipulative, so it's just interesting to see how well he was able to do in society despite being so obviously mentally imbalanced, and how he was able to get away with so many crimes. People really paying attention to it.
Is it a new documentary?
I don't know how new it is. I do know it's a Netflix limited series. I don't know how many things they market as limited series, but...
Yeah, what exactly does that mean, actually?
I don't know. I know that one time I watched another series on Netflix that was also a limited series called Waco. That one was a good show, and I guess they took it off because it's no longer there.
Limited series. I wonder if that means you are limited to watching this on Netflix.
It sounds like it's time limited, not so much like limited to only watching. But yeah, it's an interesting watch. If you're into crime documentaries, I would recommend.
So is it an actual documentary or is it a docudrama?
No, it's a documentary. They have pictures of the people associated with the crimes. They have interviews with the actual detectives who worked on the case. They have his lawyer. They have recordings of speaking to the police and how kind of brazen he is about how he's very brazen about not being wrong, about not being guilty of anything, even though the police started tailing him months before they actually found out he had committed all of these murders.
Mm-hmm.
And then after he confessed, he was still brazen about not being guilty about it. He kind of claimed that his victims were just prostitutes that were trying to rip him off or attack him. When very obviously a lot of his victims were just young men from the town that were just looking for work. He had like a construction company
Mm-hmm.
for building houses, and so he hired a bunch of young men to work for him. And so a lot of the times he invited them back to his place under false pretenses, and that's when he murdered them.
That's pretty scary. I guess if this is a serial killer, the question as to why is a moot point. That is just what he did.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of crazy sometimes when you just listen to these people because they have so much almost an inhuman amount of confidence about what they're doing, and it's kind of unreal when you think of yourself. At least personally, when I think of myself, I'm like, I'm very competent at certain things, but I think that I don't even have that level of confidence in the things that I am capable of. So it's like there's definitely something interesting about those types of people from that aspect.
Yeah, it sounds like you're almost drinking your own Kool-Aid at that point.
Yeah. So yeah, how about you? Have you been watching anything? Hopefully something lighter?
Not really, I want to say. Let's see, the last thing I saw... well, actually, there was one big thing, but I don't know that I want to talk about it until you see it. Did you see Everything Everywhere All at Once?
I didn't. I don't know if I'm going to watch it though, as much as
Oh man, what are you doing?
as much as I enjoy that actress and what she's done. I saw the trailer. I thought the premise was cool, but I feel like it isn't for me.
Why don't you just watch it? Is it because you're you're a staunch conservative?
Is it because I'm a staunch conservative?
Is that the reason?
Yes, I dislike movies with strong female leads. I cannot. My conservative mindset cannot process this.
I think you should watch it, John. It's actually quite good. It'll make you feel... it's very relatable, I would say.
Well, I mean, I guess I'm gonna go into this with the assumption that I'm not going to watch it. So you can go ahead and spoil me and maybe try and sell it to me this way.
Well, sure. Spoilers for Everything Everywhere All at Once. So there's this lady that works in a laundromat, and she runs it with her husband, and she has difficulty talking to her daughter, who is a lesbian, and she's trying to do her taxes, and she's working with a very belligerent tax assistant. And then all of a sudden, a different version of her husband shows up in her husband's body, who apparently comes from a different dimension. And he says that she is the chosen one, and that she must help him stop a certain multi-dimensional being. And of course she doesn't believe him at first, but he gives her the power to tap into the abilities of other versions of herself in different dimensions. And hold on a second. And so what starts happening is the agents from this other multi-dimensional evil starts chasing her. And at first her husband from a different dimension defends her by some incredible kung fu. Or at least martial arts. I actually don't know what the nature of the martial arts are. But she starts believing him, and she starts taking on the identity of other versions of herself. But it's not just necessarily that that's cool. It's also just the fact that in exploring these other dimensions and putting herself in these other versions of herself, she gets to see what could have been had she made different decisions in her life, explicitly with her husband, in terms of had she gone with him, has she not gone with him, has she listened to her father, has she not listened to her father, and the way in which she behaves with her daughter, and other relationships with other characters that show up in the movie. And it's just and it just kind of makes you reflect as to, well, the road not taken, was it the right one, was it the wrong one, and kind of just the beauty of each of these paths. And it also just makes you captivated with the life that you have and the journey that you took, despite the choices that you made. One thing that is a major spoiler is that the interdimensional evil that she's trying to fight is actually a different version of her daughter.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's a lot to think about, and there's not a single moment of the movie that is wasted in its 2-hour runtime. 2 hours and scratch runtime.
That's kind of interesting. Every single iteration of her is supposed to be her if something different had happened in her life.
If she had made a slightly different choice.
I see. And so, well, I saw in the trailer that I think she became like a martial artist master, and maybe I saw some magic in there. Is there actually magic in that movie, or am I misremembering?
No, there's no magic actually. It's all martial arts. I think there's a lot of technology that is similar to magic, as Thor once suggested, that if science is advanced enough, it is indistinguishable from magic.
Was that Thor?
Yeah, Thor said that. He said, Jane Foster, let me tell you, very advanced science is very similar to magic, by the way.
Wait, what movie was that in?
Thor, The Dark World.
I have a feeling that you're pulling my leg.
No, he said that.
Okay.
He said that. He also said, don't you dare become the next Thor.
Okay. Hey, talking about Thor, have you seen the trailer for Love and Thunder?
Yes, I did see it.
What'd you think about it?
I thought it looked like a lot of fun. I can't actually say that there's anything that I can tell is particular. I don't know how things get to the place in which they seem to be. So I don't know how Jane becomes Thor, which seems to be a very large question. And I guess they also just introduced the main villain, and I have no idea who he is.
Yeah, that trailer was pretty wacky. So that is interesting, I guess. That movie does sound interesting. And yeah, I guess maybe if somebody else is watching it in the nearby vicinity of me, I might also give it a watch.
But before you do that, you should definitely watch Everything Everywhere All at Once.
That's the movie that I was referring to.
Oh, okay. Well, excellent. Yeah. Let me just say that it might be the first movie that you watch where watching two rocks will make you cry.
Watching two rocks?
Yeah.
Do you mean like literal rocks? Like
That is exactly what I mean, yes.
Oh. I thought for some reason that you meant like two Dwayne "The Rock" Johnsons.
No, that would never make you cry.
Would you rate that a 10 out of 10?
At least a 9 out of 10.
Did that one release this year or last year?
That was this year.
Interesting. Is it your favorite movie of the year thus far?
It is my favorite movie thus far.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Okay, so spoke with Fancred here. Where's the next stop? I don't see my... Ah, there it is. So have you seen anything else then?
I did start to rewatch Castlevania, the animated series.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, originally I had watched the first 4 episodes and then I didn't watch it just because I didn't really want to watch it anymore. I just lost interest. But I want to give it another go. And I've watched the first 2 episodes so far, and they're good. They're better than I remember them. I think that I certainly don't remember the show being as gory as it is. It's kind of crazy how much attention to that they put.
They certainly needed to emphasize that particular aspect to show its audience that this wasn't your run-of-the-mill animated game adaptation, I think. It is an interesting story, but I'm going to say that the thing I enjoyed the most out of that show was the ending of season 1, and then I didn't care for season 2, so I never saw season 3.
But whatever happened, or so what happened at the end of season 1? Because I watched it, so I don't really mind spoilers, but I honestly don't remember.
Well, spoilers for Castlevania season 1, but Alucard does go into his father's castle and takes him out.
Oh, is that what happens?
I'm pretty sure that that's what happened.
In the first episode, they show Alucard appearing in front of Dracula, like he's about to confront him, but then nothing ever came of that. So I don't know if maybe that's something out of sequence.
Well, I might be thinking about part of the second season, but anyways, the most poignant part of that series was when Alucard actually faces Dracula, and Dracula starts digesting the notion that his very son has come to take his life.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if I was in Dracula's shoes, I would be pretty mad. If I had Dracula's powers, I might do the same.
Just like, how dare you, son? How dare you?
Well, I mean more like in the first episode when they kill his wife. For some reason, when I watched the first episode and when I watched the scene where like they burn his wife alive, and then he gets all angry and stuff, I couldn't help but remember that one scene in Devilman Crybaby. I was like, man, stop killing people's significant others already. It's too hardcore.
Well, that's certainly putting it mildly. It's like, gee, they skinned that kitten alive. That is hardcore. Yeah, it's certainly a difficult scene to watch, scene to process. Okay, so when are we gonna do that dungeon?
You needed to progress part of this main story quest to where you had access to what was the name of the quests? It was Hello Halatali or something before that. I can look it up for you. But you needed to get further along in the main story quest.
Well, I actually wasn't talking about. I was just talking about the daily roulette.
Well, but we have a dungeon. We have 2 dungeons that we can do, and they're relatively close. So I think we should do that.
Fine.
Have you done the main story quest, Dress to Deceive?
I don't know. I'm currently in Amelja, Wrong Places.
Okay, so the one that you need to complete in order to unlock Halatali is the quest that follows the one you're currently on.
Well, I hope so. Okay, I think I'm wrapping up this quest. Show the queer leaflet to this person. Okay, now I'm undertaking dress to deceive.
Alright, good.
Okay, so that seems to have been completed. Speak with the locals while garbed in a weathered shepherd's tunic and a pair of weathered shepherd's slops. Why is this? Why? So I guess I have to wear clothes or something. Slops. Honestly, why is it a quest to talk to somebody while wearing clothes? Specific clothes.
Be right back, 1 second.
Open thy heart to this light needy child, and thou shalt want for naught till the end of days. Okay, seems like I need to talk to 5 folks in total. Ah, the Flame Captain. Just a bit of housekeeping here.
Oh, did you want to know something cool? Apparently, Epic Games is giving out the BioShock collection for free for PC.
Why are they doing that?
Well, Epic Games usually gives free games every week. It's just that usually they give games that aren't super popular, that are usually just offered by like indie developers and stuff like that.
What is the reason for them to give this particular collection away? I thought BioShock was popular. Everyone loves Ayn Rand.
It is popular, it's just very old at this point.
Very old?
I think.
Wasn't the last one, BioShock Black Flag, released fairly recently?
Wait a minute, Black Flag is an Assassin's Creed game.
BioShock Liberty for All? Justice for All.
The last game that came out for the BioShock series was BioShock Infinite, and that one came out back in 2013.
Yeah, 2013 seems not so long ago. Wonder if I was still watching X-Play when that happened.
Yeah, most likely. You could also be watching X-Play now because apparently they have a YouTube channel now, don't they?
Yeah, I've never seen it though. I should be watching that. Well, that sounds like a good investment. I know those games were good. Are you planning on getting it?
Well, yeah, I just got it right now as we were speaking. I can definitely attest to the quality of BioShock 1, and I would recommend that you play it for your stream. Maybe
I actually only want to play BioShock 2.
Why?
I don't know, it sounds like the best one.
Okay. Are you just being a contrarian?
Me?
Yes, you.
No, I think objectively, Metacritic-wise, it's probably the best one.
You say so. I was actually tempted to buy this game, buy this collection last week because it was on sale for like $4.
So after it was for sale, they were like, well, nobody's buying it for $4. We might as well just make it free. Ah, jeez, these quest points not showing whether or not you're a floor above or below are very frustrating. Alright. Now I just gotta go back to Thancred. Alright, so I think I finished Dress to Deceive. Speak with Thangred while garbed in these tunics. And I just did that. But where is he? Oh, why did he have to teleport so far away? Hey, what do you think about Thancred anyways?
I think I like him a lot more in, was it Heaven's Word or Stormblood? I think it might be Heaven's Word.
Why is
no,
that?
actually no, it's in Stormblood. I don't know. I don't remember which iteration of it is, but you enjoy him more in after A Realm Reborn. The reason that you ask that I like his character better than is because he's gone through more character development. He's not so carefree.
Is that so?
Yes.
The coin was good. I could sell mole meat for a score of lifetimes and not even see a fraction of what the Amalja pay me. What does this even mean?
Are you doing voice acting?
Well, if I was any good, I would certainly try to do so. Alright, go back all the way to Golden Sands. But with that, I'm going to go on a short break. A small bio break, if you will, and then get the final drink for our stream. I will be right back, John.
Sounds good.
Okay, and we are back with our final drink of the evening, and friends of the stream will remember this. It's a full Boar Scotch Ale. Now, John, are you familiar with Full Boar?
I am familiar. It's a very tasty beer.
I believe you did once travel to the West Coast and visited a certain brewery, was it? Devil's Canyon?
Yes, I did traverse into the Devil's Canyon.
Yeah, and so Full Bore is probably their #1 mainstay. It's a maltier, caramel flavored ale, I want to say. Let's see what Untapped has to say on it before I give it my own personal rating. Let's see. Full Bore. So as I said, it's a Scotch ale. It's a mildly smoky blend of peated malts, rich flavors of caramel, overtones of chocolate, and a slight hint of coffee. Crisp malts together with hops give the Boar its aroma and complement the characteristics of a Scotch-style ale. So one of the more standard flavors in the Scottish lands. Fortunately, this one is not a tall boy. Definitely has good notes of caramel and even chocolate. I can't taste the coffee, and the reason why I say that is because anything that tastes like coffee in a beer format I dislike, but I actually do enjoy this particular drink. Like I said, it's a mainstay for Devil's Canyon, and certainly the first thing that I open with every time I visit that location. So very much recommend. Very much recommend. So, hang a nail, dear viewers. I guess I did taste some coffee there. Anyways, let's go back to the game. Okay, so now I'm supposed to speak with Minfilia at the Waking Sands. Now, how close am I actually to this dungeon?
Well, if you finish that quest at the Waking Sands, then you will actually be extremely close because the quest giver is actually in the same location where the Waking Sands is.
Is there a simple way to pick inventory items without having to pull off your own inventory item?
You can right-click on an item and equip it.
I think what constantly happens to me is just I go to my character screen, I click on an item to open up the armory chest, but instead of just opening the armory chest, it actually takes it off me, which is very counterintuitive.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, I'm as good as I'll ever be. Really, there should be an option for you not to join Fates. It just breaks the mood.
You mean you don't like the little pum 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 pum?
No, I don't. There has been 0 instances since I started this game that I've wanted to join a Fate. I just wish there was a way to turn them off.
You should set that as the email notification tone for like your work email.
So
Maybe
I constantly,
you'll like it more than...
so I constantly keep hearing it for no reason.
Maybe you'll like it more than...
If I associate it to something I also dislike.
Don't you feel like it just gets you ready for action?
No, I don't.
It's like, I am being called to duty. I must ready myself.
There's no readying to be done. It's just, here, fight this monster that apparently has more health than it should. Or set of monsters that have more health than they should. Within a time limit. Ah, there we go. Finally, Minfilia. Okay, I have to place Minfilia's dagger at the bonfire to somebody called Metamucil.
Hey, so do you want to know where the citizens of a particular country want to move to according to Google search data?
Yeah, that sounds like fun. Shoot.
Where do you think people that live in the US want to move to?
People that live in the United States. This would be easier if you were talking about people in the city versus people in like not in the city. But just overall the US.
Yes, this is just compiled from raw search data. I guess they just took the highest result that they got.
Canada.
No, it's actually Japan.
See, I was gonna say Japan if you were just talking about city people.
Well, city people make the majority of the United States, wouldn't you agree?
Not if voting results are to be believed.
All right. Since you mentioned Canada, where do you think Canada residents want to move to?
You mean Canadians?
Yes.
The U.S.
Wrong. It's also Japan.
Gosh darn it.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I probably wouldn't have guessed that first.
I guess it makes sense that Canadians think very similarly to most of Americans.
By the way, did you finish that quest?
Well, I certainly haven't gotten to any dungeons, if that's what you're asking. I just keep getting sent to talk to different people across the world.
Well, if you finish that quest, you actually needed to pick up a side quest, not continue doing the main story quest.
What was that quest?
Name of that quest is Hello Halatali by something Ironheart. And he was like right next to Minfilia.
Really?
Yes. Yes, he was.
Alright, where's Minfilia again? In Horizon?
In the Waking Sands. Nedrick Ironheart. He's in that general vicinity.
You mean that instance within an instance?
You can just use a ticket to teleport to Minfilia. Like that letter ticket in your inventory.
I've got a letter ticket to teleport to Vesper Bay. I don't think that's what you mean.
That is the place where Minfilia is at.
I thought she was in the Waking Sands.
The Waking Sands is inside of Vesper Bay. Where do you think people from Peru want to live?
The United States.
That would be Spain.
What?
Yeah, this is purely off of Google search results.
Hey, last time I spoke to somebody from Peru, nobody said anything about Spain.
Have you found good old Nedrick Ironheart?
I'm going to Nilphilia.
He's not. He's not inside of the Waking Sands. He's outside of the building. He's like by some railings. He has a blue bubble over his head.
As in Blue Bubble, I have an uninteresting quest.
Yes, exactly.
They should really do better with their quest markers. Everything is just... they're not properly categorized.
Hey, where do you think people from Japan want to live?
Canada?
No.
Wait, is it Korea? Damn it!
India? Is that what you're gonna say?
No, I didn't say India, I said Korea.
No, it isn't Korea. It would have been funny if you said India, though. Yeah, apparently Japanese folks want to live in the UK.
That's an interesting choice. Okay, speak with Falajoni at Halatali.
Yeah, you have the quest now, so just follow that one.
So, if I never spoke to that person, would I just never be able to go to this instance? Is that the general idea?
Yes, that's correct, actually.
How-
You need to do that quest to unlock it.
How is that good world design?
I don't know. Where do you think people in the UK want to live?
Is it Northern Scotland.
Well, isn't Northern Scotland inside of the UK?
Yeah, I guess you're right. For now.
I'm always bad at determining what the UK is and what the UK isn't.
Wales.
Isn't Wales part of the UK?
Yeah, where do they want to live? Okay, just tell me.
I'll give you a hint. It's one of your previous guesses.
Korea?
No. Canada.
Oh. That's unusual.
This is pretty funny. Almost all of the western side of South America apparently wants to live in Spain, but then Brazil wants to live in Portugal.
I want to go back to the homeland.
I guess.
This blasted map is not informing anything.
Kind of funny how it's cyclical between the United States wanting to live in Japan, Japan wanting to live in UK, UK wanting to live in Canada, and then Canada wanting to live in Japan.
It's like a snake eating its own tail.
Yes. And then apparently nobody wants to live in the US except Russians and Norwegians.
Does anybody want to live in Germany? Because that's where I would like to go.
Yes, actually. Let's see. So apparently people from Poland, Chechnya, Romania, Bulgaria, Greece, and Turkey would like to live in Germany.
Okay, so clearly I should join them. Such a wonderful place. Does anybody want to live in South Korea? Because that's probably my second favorite place to imagine living in.
Let me see. Is there anybody that wants to live in South Korea?
Is it just people from North Korea?
No, actually all the places that are, that have authoritarian governments are actually just blacked out because they probably don't have Google. I'm surprised Russia has Google. Vietnam people want to live in South Korea, apparently.
Oh, wow.
And also people in the United Arab Emirates.
Went the wrong way.
People in Germany apparently want to live in Switzerland.
I wonder what search queries they are actually polling. Is it just like, I want to live in so-and-so?
Maybe. I don't know. That's funny. So people in New Zealand want to live in Fiji. Could you take a guess where people in Fiji want to live?
New Zealand?
Yes.
I actually don't know where Fiji is. Is that supposed to be an island as well?
Yeah, it's a small island apparently to the northeast of New Zealand.
Well,
Does
you
that make
don't
sense?
you don't know what you don't have.
Yeah, that is a pretty severe case of grass is greener. I also think it's comical that people in Mexico want to live in Canada as opposed to the United States.
Well, I think history has proven that they are not well received as they should.
It's true.
Alright, finally made it to Hawatali. That could have saved 10 minutes if Camp Drybone or whatever wasn't a maze. Okay, now Hawatali is accessible. Shall we finally do a dungeon?
Yes.
Why do you hate doing dungeons anyways?
I don't hate doing dungeons.
We should just start the stream with a dungeon.
I mean, we just had it. We have a dungeon ready to do, so I figured we'd do that one instead.
The stream loves dungeons. They're always like, hey, why don't you guys do a dungeon? They're like MSQ, more like MS-DOS.
Is that an insult?
I think so.
I didn't know you had such disdain for MS-DOS.
Well, it's just not very user-friendly. I don't know that anybody would disagree with that notion.
I don't think many people use MS-DOS.
Hopefully, once I become a full healer, our queue waiting time will be a lot quicker.
I think it ought to be.
I think last time I logged into this character, I was simply doing job-related quests, and I logged into the daily roulette finder. Probably took me a good 20 minutes before I was up.
Yeah, that tends to happen when you're DPS.
Okay, here we go.
That was pretty instantaneous. Alright, I will warn you, this dungeon does have slightly more mechanics than the previous ones, which were just tank and spank.
Just holler when I should watch out.
The first boss, we just have to make sure that the DPS is killing the little fireballs that are trying to reach the bonfire.
You mean the bombs?
Not necessarily the bombs. Just little fires.
Okay. Is that what they're called, little fires?
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly what they're called.
Seems pretty straightforward so far. Oh my god, it's a gas pump. Much better.
Alright, I think it's time for the first boss. So, this one is just straightforward. Keep an eye out for the little balls, for the little glowing balls that appear on the edge of the room. And just make sure they are exploded or they're destroyed before they reach the center of the room.
Well, what happens if you don't?
The party takes a lot of damage because they blow up. They're not little bombs. I think there's a couple coming from the east.
Wait, I don't see them. Oh wait, I see one. God, these things are so tiny, you can barely target them in time. Okay, was that good? Was that okay? I'm assuming from your silence that it wasn't good.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. We have to click this bonfire to teleport. Forgetting what the next boss does. What does that next boss do? Wait, did we already go through here? Oh, I remember the next boss now. So the next boss, we were fighting this thunder blizzard. And so really, since you're ranged, you just want to hang back in the ramp, and I'll show you where the ramp is. The reason why you want to hang back in the ramp is because he enters a phase where he electrifies the floor, and if you don't step out of the floor, you're basically dead. So I think we forgot some torches. We have to still unlock stuff. So yeah, you have to just make sure that you stand on the ramp, and then when he goes into that phase, he's also invulnerable. So just make sure that while he's invulnerable, there's going to be some ads, and we have to take them out. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Is there something that suggests that he is invulnerable?
He'll start walking towards the center of the room, so he's going to give us time. But since you're ranged, you can just kick back in the ramp.
Just
or
hang
just
out.
take him close to the ramp. Yes.
Blessed coaster. Coliseum Python.
We forget someplace. Might still have a lantern that we haven't activated.
How come these guys
never mind.
haven't told you anything? Are they newbies as well?
They might be.
I don't think there's any new players to Final Fantasy XIV though. Everyone stopped joining.
They just stopped? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there's no new players. I read that in a book somewhere. Wait, why aren't you getting aggro?
Can you hear me?
Just now, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why that person just decided to pick up aggro. Unless that person was you, in which case I'm very mad.
No, why would it be me? I'm the short person, and my controls are screwed up. Okay. I gotta get out of here. Ah! Honestly, this carbuncle thing does nothing. It's so frustrating.
Nice. I also leveled up.
That wasn't a good fight. I'm just putting greed for everything. I don't know. I'm not gonna research what's good for me or not.
Okay. Well, we need to click this ethereal flow to go to the last part of the dungeon.
Okay, better hurry. My time is limited. Close to Cinderella time, John.
I'll hurry. The last boss has pretty repeated mechanics from the first boss, where he has little fireballs that you have to kill before they reach him. Additionally, he just puts out pools of fire on the floor, so just avoid. Okay, I think it's time for the last boss.
Alright. I prepared all my life for this. Hey, everyone skipped faster than me.
Hey, where would you skip?
I don't care. Wow, this guy doesn't mess around.
You could say that.
Do you remember where that's from?
Somewhat.
What the?
He's invulnerable.
Yeah, there's this other thing attacking me. These several other things attacking me.
Make sure to kill the things that are going towards him.
I'm trying, but there's too many of them. There's these random sigils. Ah, good.
Very nice.
Imagine that, we actually did it. Well done. I commend you for your tanking abilities.
I commend you for your ability to kill those tiny things.
I barely did anything. Honestly, they were probably on target before I was actually able to target them. But so it goes, I can only get better, right?
That is true.
Alright. Well, good game. I think we're gonna have to call it at this point because I definitely have to go quite soon. But another fun romp, John. Thank you very much for the game. Like I said, maybe we should consider doing the daily roulette first next time.
Sure, we can do that. I don't mind.
Man, stop being so contrarian. Alright, well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. So, thank you everyone for joining this stream. Appreciate your company here. I'll say hopefully you are joining us tomorrow for our standard retro stream. Hopefully I will see you there, John. And I'm going to say that none of what you just said registered because desktop audio was off, but now it is on. What was your response to that?
I said hopefully yes, I'll make an appearance.
Okay, excellent. I think we'll probably be playing that time old classic Banjo-Kazooie. Are you a Banjo-Kazooie fan, John?
Yeah, I like Banjo-Kazooie, the first one.
Quite a good game, Did you ever play the second one?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, that's certainly something that I only went through halfway. Anyways, let's go ahead and wrap up today's stream. Stay thirsty, Wolfkin. We'll see you again.